we're really close. Yeah, really close. I mean, I'm just about there. And Coach Grimes and Kalani and I will decide soon. We're close. I know you guys are tired of waiting and stuff, but I think we have a good plan. Just about there. Yeah, just about there.
Welcome into the Pac-12 Panic Room plus BYU plus USU plus Weber. JP Chunga, Mitch Harper. Emphasis on the BYU today because we got ourselves in our hands right now the BYU depth chart. And the thing that we've been talking about the entire time, the quarterbacks, we have a starter. His name is Tanner Mangum.
We finally got an answer, JP, on a Friday night news dump.
I know.
Usually this is the spot for scandals.
Yep.
This is usually when Baylor is filling the news headlines.
Ohio State.
BYU dropping their depth chart. No media availability. We didn't hear the reasoning from Kalani, Grimes, Roderick. Just dropped a little tweet on everyone.
Yep.
Went to Twitter and dropped a depth chart. I literally, when I saw the tweet, I thought, okay, I'm making sure this is a verified account, making sure this is an official BYU account, because BYU Twitter, JP, it's a weird world where BYU fans are trying to be insiders and they'll look and act like a BYU official account. So I'm thinking, I got to make sure this is legit. So I didn't want to get burned by some parody account tweeting out some well-put PDF-looking.
It looks great, yeah. If on first glance, if I were to make a fake, the oars are looking nice as well. It's all in alphabetical order, which is something that BYU would do if I were a fake. Yes. Keep that in mind next year when you're doing a fake. Beautiful if we're a fake.
Yeah, Tanner Mangum, though, being named the starting quarterback. Not completely surprising, but still, nonetheless, it's surprising in the fact that I don't know if he was the best quarterback in fall camp, JP. What we saw in camp was Zach Wilson making the big plays, the great passes, those highlight reel moments. But Tanner Mangum, his experience, maybe his age, you're talking about a 25-year-old against an 18-year-old. I think, those factored into this decision, and Tanner Mangum has done enough through fall camp, and credit to him. He has lost 22 pounds. He does look like a new guy physically, but still, I thought that Zach Wilson, just as an overall big playability, his completion percentage, I just thought that Zach Wilson was the best guy, but I can understand the line of reasoning behind this move. A little bit of a surprise, but everything the last week of fall camp was trending in favor of Tanner Mangum.
And the thing that clearly it was really close. Aaron Roderick said as much. He said it's really, really close to them making a decision and to them deciding on who the guy is. I was looking, obviously we did this a couple weeks ago, the tea leaves of Jeff Grimes recruiting Zach Wilson so late, trying to get his guy in there, and then now he's in contention for the spot as the starter. I thought he had the edge in this one, and it turns out Tanner Mangum won it in the end, and he gets the starting nod when they play Arizona next week.
Yeah, BYU's been playing football since 1922. Never started a true freshman in the season opener. So maybe Kalani Sitake in a year where he's looking to bring back not only wins and get to a postseason game, but just bring back respectability, because there was many games last year where BYU was just not even competitive. And maybe they feel right now at this juncture, Tanner Mangum gives them the best ability to be competitive and maybe win a game. But the thing is, JP, is I feel that both Mangum or Zach Wilson could carve out 6 wins on the schedule. I think the ceiling for Mangum is maybe if a lot of bounces went BYU's way, they go 8-4. But that's being overly optimistic right now. I mean, because you look at this depth chart, and there's some big holes as far as depth is concerned and whatnot, especially when you're going up against some of the best teams that college football has to offer this year. So I just thought 6-6, 7-5 is pretty much the ceiling for either guy. If you go with the young guy, even when Aaron Roderick, like you said, is saying that's an even race, why not go with the youth movement and really start having this guy as the face of your program? Because now, even with Tanner as a starter, it's not secure by any means. He has a bad half against Arizona. How long is this leash for Mangum? I think it might be the biggest question, but we'll find out. There's now, 7-8 days till kickoff against Arizona, so we're going to find out very soon, and Mangum getting the nod, I can understand it, but still raises some questions.
That's the big one that we're looking at as far as the depth chart. But going beyond that, you have a bunch of oars on this one. I look as my first one, Squally Canada and Zach Katoa at the running back position. It's going to be a by committee deal, but no Bo Hodge in the two deep, at least on this depth chart going forward for BYU.
Yeah, these were BYU's best running backs: Squally Canada, the former Washington State transfer, and Lupini Katoa, one time a Oregon State signee out of American Fork. I think Lupini's the best overall running back, but it's kind of similar to that of the quarterback situation, where maybe going with the elder statesman and kind of giving him that last hurrah, last chapter. Is that the right move? I don't know. I'm just like a guy that, like, I see it on the field, the big plays, the big production. It's been coming more times not from the youth movement at BYU, which is surprising because they're coming on the heels of their lowest ranked recruiting class ever in program history, at least since the recruiting sites have been around. But a lot of youngsters have made an impact on the program in fall camp, and I really thought maybe you'd see a youth movement with this new offensive staff, and they have no allegiance to anyone.
Yeah.
But they are going with the older guys, and maybe they're looking at it where if it's even footing, they're going to go with the older guy. Usually you think younger guy would be the call there, but they feel that maybe go a little bit older and get that experience on the field.
Anything else stand out for you when it comes to the depth chart?
Tight end position. Tight end spot, talked about a little bit yesterday on Gunther and Ben that Dallin Holker was really impressing everyone down at BYU to the point where maybe he was going to knock off Matt Bushman, the freshman All-American from a season ago, a guy that was a preseason Mackey watch list guy, a guy that maybe people thought, I know myself included, I thought he was BYU's best player
last year
program, and also maybe one of the 10 best tight ends in all of college football. I thought Matt Bushman had that ability going into the season, but Holker, another freshman, he's listed as an or along with the entire unit, but Holker might be the guy that gets more reps, more production in that season opener against Arizona. So that's a fascinating development that I don't think anyone, including myself, saw coming going into camp.
Well, especially when you asked the media to put together their BYU 25 best player. Where was Matt Bushman?
Number one.
All the way at the top.
Number one.
Everybody's going to see that guy, at least from the preseason perspective. I had him number one. Everybody else did. Him having a competition with Dallin Holker, who everybody we've talked to. We talked to Jared Lloyd. We talked to Dick Harmon on Gunther and Ben. They were all talking this guy up. Apparently, he's really pushing the spot for Matt Bushman, something that I didn't see going into this year. And clearly, when we get to this depth chart, BYU's the one that's seeing it.
Yeah, and I think that's a case, too, where them going with all the oars, maybe they're kind of masking the true freshman getting that nod, possibly, so he doesn't have to face the questions this week and have to deal with why Bushman over Bush, or why Holker over Bushman. We'll see. I think Bushman's still going to get a lot of run, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if he replicated the numbers that he did a season ago. But I think that as far as taking that leap forward and becoming maybe one of the best ever tight ends in BYU's history, because that's really what I thought he could be, one of the best ever to do it at that position, and he just, for one reason or another, he hasn't been the same guy. He's added a lot of weight, so he hasn't maintained his speed as well, at least from the looks of it in fall camp. I mean, I'm not one to talk about speed. I'm not the fastest guy in the toolbox, but it's been noticeable with Bushman because his speed was one of his attributes last year in an offense that was absolutely abysmal. Guys like him stood out like sore thumb because, wow, they actually moved the chains. They made a 20-yard completion, so that stood out. And Bushman, he's got competition. So, like Mangum, he's getting pushed by young guys. And I think these competitions, even though there's a depth chart right now and Mangum's the starter and Bushman maybe is that number one guy still, they're going to continue to get pushed every day. They got to continue to perform because if they slip up at any moment, BYU's got some youngsters now that the coaching staff feels can take their job.
Rewatching a couple games, the thing that every color commentator was saying when I was watching Utah BYU, Bushman's open on this play.
Yeah.
He's looking at Bushman. Bushman was clearly the number one target for every BYU quarterback last year. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, I went to Troy Warner and seeing him in the competition, but you say he has a little bit of a niggling injury coming into the year.
Yeah, battling still Liz Frank injury. He never really was a full go in fall camp, so we haven't seen him at 100% yet, and I think that's a reason where he's listed as an or at those safety positions. He's going to be a permanent stay at the safety spot. Now, Dayan Gonwoluku, he could be a guy that goes back to cornerback because that spot is very thin. You're looking at a guy in Bo Tanner who transferred out of the program. And this is kind of a weird theme for some of these BYU guys in this depth chart, but Bo Tanner left the program back in May, was expected to go to Arizona and try to walk on with Kevin Sumlin, but they didn't have a spot for him because he was upset because he got switched last spring from wide receiver, where he'd always played his entire career, to cornerback. He didn't want any part of the cornerback position, but because of his speed, he comes back, BYU gets him back, and now he's one of the starting spots at cornerback. There's some concerns there at the cornerback spot, so Dayangon Woluku would not be surprised by month's end in the first month of the season to see him go back and maybe have some of those safeties where they feel like they have depth, maybe have some 5 defensive back sets there.
Austin Lee, the former University of Utah player, him also in an or situation at free safety with Troy Warner. That stands out for me just because of the Utah connection.
Yeah, Austin Lee, he's been someone that's really stood out in camp. Like you said, former Utah transfer, was buried under the depth chart at Utah. They had guys like Marcus Williams at that time, youngster out of Alta, but at BYU, he's found a home there. Kalani Sitake and Elisa Tuyaki recruited him to Utah, so he's got a close relationship with them, and that's why when he left Utah, he found a spot at BYU. But really good athlete, good player. I think he's going to be a good fit for this 4-3 defense that BYU is going to incorporate.
There's the offense, there's the defense, special teams. We'll leave that to the specialists to discuss as that competition continues. A depth chart will be coming out for Utah come Monday, so we'll be able to get that on the next Panic Room. But this week, we've got football. College football and week 0.
Beautiful, JP.
I'm a little angry that there's a game not going on in Australia. Right?
Right now.
Right? Shouldn't it be happening right now?
Cal should be dominating Rice. It's just something like that. We need a Sydney game. What happened to that game?
I know. It's the Stanford game. It is Stanford or Cal.
Yep.
One of those elite institutions that prioritize getting worldly experience. Why aren't you going there, Cal or Stanford? Or even a Michigan? A Michigan would be a candidate for that. I like to see the Australia game. I want to have somebody there. But we've got games with lines, so we're going to have some entertainment purposes for you on week 0. Wyoming against New Mexico State. The Pokes, favored by 4. Who you got?
This is a good game. New Mexico State, their first home game in Las Cruces on an ESPN network since 2009. They're packing the house apparently down there. $3 tickets they're selling. This is their first game back in the ranks of the Independents. They basically got booted out of the Sun Belt. They got kicked out, literally, like, get out of here.
And the WAC's done.
Yeah, that's gone. So they're trying to capitalize on this ESPN opportunity, and they might have a sellout there, but it's a good game. I mean, Wyoming, they're now post Josh Allen. What are they going to be? Defensively, I think they're going to be really good. Offensively, though, a lot of questions, but I'm going to go with the upset here, JP. I'm going New Mexico State.
You're going New Mexico State.
This team is going back to a bowl game again for the second straight year under Doug Martin.
See, I decided to be a degenerate. Look into these games. Andrew Wingard he was highlighted on the Wyoming defensive backfield, the NFL prospect after Josh Allen on this Wyoming team, which is amazing for Craig Bowl and his squad to have any NFL prospects over at Wyoming. Their defense has 8 returning starters. Offense has 9 returning starters. This is the most experienced Craig Bowl team that they've ever had in Wyoming. I think I might take the Pokes in this game, -4. They might be keeping New Mexico State at a 0, and the over/under is 45.
Yeah, I like that. I like this matchup. It'll be fun. I hope it ends up being a good game, because the last thing you want is a week 0 just snooze fest like BYU Portland State last year. That was absolute hell to watch. BYU was struggling with Portland State. There was probably good value if you weren't a BYU or Portland State fan, because you're thinking, man, this might go down to the wire.
Yeah.
BYU might get the upset or might get upset by a FCS squad. But I think this Wyoming-New Mexico State game should be pretty fun. I think it's the best game in the week 0. And by the way, when did that become a thing? Like, when did week 0 suddenly be a thing? Like, I remember the Pigskin Classic back in the day, the Kickoff Classic, where that would be a week before the opening weekend. But week 0 just kind of dropped on us suddenly, just out of nowhere.
Well, it's because of Australia. Yeah. It's because of the fact that you had to travel all the way across half the world and then come back in 1 week and play another game.
I would love to see the entire group of 5 go to week 0. They have their opening week.
That'd be good.
Week 1 is the Power 5, gives us the heavyweights. week 0, let that be Group of 5 weekend, because these are Group of 5 teams. This is the only time we're really going to watch New Mexico State, let's be honest, until they play BYU in November. This is it. This is all we're going to watch of them. If you have all these Group of 5 teams go to week 0, then I'm watching like a Rice. I'm watching a UMass maybe against Duquesne, because I'm just deprived of football, and I want football injected in my veins.
Give me a Boise State playing on this week 0. That would be a great highlight for them. The other game, this one I think is tastier for us degenerates. Hawaii at Colorado State, -14.5. Here's a fact for Hawaii. They've covered the last 4 of the 5 years in the opening week for them.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good stat. I like that. That might make me sway my thoughts, because Hawaii, they lost a lot of players to transfers.
Dylan Collie.
Roster has turned over big time. Rolovich going in his year 3. Year 1, he got to a bowl game. Last year was a nosedive and really fell on hard times. Can they bounce back this year? I'm still going to say the Rams, though. Even though they got a weird situation with their coach. Last I checked, as of this, was he in the hospital?
Yeah,
Bobo?
Mike Bobo.
So that's a unique situation there. But I'm going to go with the Rams, though. I remember last year they went up against Oregon State and really dominated the Beavers. I mean, who doesn't these days? But Colorado State seems like they're kind of like the week 0 fixture anymore.
I know.
And I think they're going to cover against Hawaii in this one, in this Mountain West tilt.
58, the over-under. I say always, don't be lame and take the under.
Yeah, I think it'll go over. I think
Give me the over.
Colorado State will put up some points. They're a pretty good program.
And Hawaii, what are they playing for? They're playing for points. They're playing to. This is put up or shut up time for Nick Rolovich in year 3, like you said. Give me the points with Hawaii and Colorado State. Excited for football to happen. We'll have more football coming up on Monday, including a full depth chart and maybe some comments from Kyle Whittingham. This has been the Pac-12 Panic Room plus BYU plus USU plus Weber. For Mitch Harper, JP Chunga, like and subscribe.